What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the collaboration mixtape between Fabo and Young Dro. Basically, this project is called Geek'd Music and it came out in the winter of 2007. So the thing about this particular project is it's pretty low key, just for the most part. I'd have to say in particular, it's a project that's it's not a project that was really as full blown advertised or known about as far as that pitch kind of particularly happens with it. And I would have to say for the most part, it's kind of a subpar project, but I do recommend it enough to be able to say it's worth the download within a relative sense. This is kind of the concept that this is kind of haphazard in the folks that come through for this project. Now, Young Dro, really, this was less than 6 months after Young Dro's hit album from 2006, Best Thing Smoking. So that's kind of the concept about it in particular, just the fact that Young Dro, to my knowledge, didn't really drop a ton of mixtapes in 2007, which was kind of a disappointment. I've been searching and searching to find some of those to get to some of those next in terms of reviewing them. But it seems like he kind of took off 2007 in particular. Maybe he went on tour and stuff like that. He just kind of crested throughout 2007. Originally, he was going to drop an album in 2007, but it got delayed and stuff, and the follow-up singles just didn't hit as heavily. But back in the first half of 2007, it was just kind of basically just the continued promo for Best Thing Smoking as far as that pitch can happen. But this is just kind of an in-between type project for Young Dro. But for Fabo in particular, it's a pretty hit project. I feel like the Fabo songs on here are just actually little. I feel like the Fabo songs on here are like some snap rap bops and some stuff like that. They're just kind of in between. There are kind of some hit cuts on here that kind of feel like could be could be singles and stuff like that. There's just some real good gems on here on Fabo's end as far as that particular pitch can have. Just some good stuff. I mean, I understand the difference was that Fabo had not really dropped an album. This was just kind of his off year as far as that pitch. Fabo kind of had an off season year after dropping the D4L album in late 2005 as far as that pitch can happen with it. And Young Dro was just still kind of cresting and coasting off of Best Thing Smoking. So it's just kind of the pitch in particular. I think the difference between it is Fabo dropped more hit songs, but it's just kind of the concept that Young Dro kind of had like more remixes and just songs that he was featured on around that particular time. Now, some of these just have poor quality. As part of the reason why this mixtape is mostly so bunked is within particular is just because of the fact that the remix songs and the songs that you find on other albums, like there's an earlier song format of like a Shoddy Low solo song, which is We Gon' Ride. Now, Fabo is not on that song, but it's like one of the most recent D4L songs for the most part, and it's just kind of a poor type one, at least in terms of the quality of the album, or the mixtape as far as that pitch can have within. There's just some folks on here, like there's a poorer version of like Shop Boys, This Party Like a Rockstar, and some stuff like that. Now, this particular project came out in early 2007, March of 2007. The Shop Boys album came out in June 2007, so it's just a poor rendition of that particular song, Party Like a Rockstar. There's just some songs like that, some songs Young Dro was featured on, a couple songs that Fabo was featured on. Fabo doesn't have as many remixes, but it's just kind of the concept of just being able to say and stuff that this project is really worth the download for these secret Fabo songs, just with his crazy kind of dance energy and just overall kinetic and electric type vibes as far as that particularly kind of goes. He still is off kilter as he was on like Laffy Taffy and Bet You Can't Do It Like Me and some of those type songs. Really spastic and just kind of ADHD type manner as far as that pitch can have. Not like there's a problem with that. That's really kind of kinetic and addictive as far as that pitch kind of goes. But it's just kind of the concept as to how some of that fibers kind of go along with it. But it's just kind of the concept as far as getting it. Basically like Lil Jon on steroids if you don't full blown know who Fabo is. Basically, first, the cat who had the first verse on Laffy Taffy, the song, pretty much a real addictive part of that particular song, Laffy Taffy, is just a pretty good pitch. But Fabo was not able to get more hits in terms of like the Billboard 100 and more commercial rap type of appeal, but he definitely was lurking underneath like the mixtape scene and some stuff like that. I know that there's a ton more Fabo type projects that are just out there just with like some bops and snap rap gems and some stuff like that, and that's definitely what this particular project is. Just some snap rap gems, just the kind of marination of snap rap as it was still popular in early 2007 as far as that pitch kind of goes in particular. But Young Dro just really feels awkward on this particular album. It's unfortunate. They do have at least 2 songs. Fabo and Young Dro have at least 2 songs together, but the Young Dro song, there's a song with Fabo featuring Young Dro, and there's a song with Young Dro featuring Fabo, and the song with Fabo featuring Young Dro is the better one to get. Most of these Fabo songs really kick ass and are just boisterous and just have an ass load of appeal, I'd have to say in particular. But these Young Dro songs are mostly just remixes, freestyles to other instrumentals and stuff like that, and just other verses on songs that he was featured on, some of that type of stuff. It's just the concept that Young Dro really didn't come through that much. He has one song in here called Fat Albert, which is kind of okay, but apart from that, most of these songs by Young Dro just really fall flat. This mixtape is mostly pretty garbage bin apart from the Fabo songs, I'd have to say in particular. It's just kind of the concept, but it is secret just because there's not a ton. It is still a bounty just because there's not a ton of information about Fabo really out there. It's just kind of low-key. Apart from the stuff about D4L, most people just only know him for Laffy Taffy and maybe Bet You Can't Do It Like Me, but there's definitely some extra kind of concepts on here just to get some other bounties of songs just to kind of have some of that snap rap kind of vibes. It's some extra kind of pitches as far as that particular kind of goes, and it's some good stuff here. I'd have to say it's just kind of the concept, but this particular mixtape was super low key as far as that pitch kind of happens with it. So I'm just going to recommend the 6.5 songs out of 21 I recommend on here. Basically less than a third, I'd have to say, is just kind of concept about it, but for the most part, that's just kind of the concept. So these 6.5 songs I recommend would be Tatted Up, You So Thick, Don't Blow My High, Fat Albert's The Almost Song, She Geeked Up, How You Do That, and Look at Her. So basically the only Young Dro song on here that I basically recommend is just Fat Albert, the Almost Song. Just would say about that one in particular, this is like a warped kind of unworldly, Fat Albert is like a warped kind of unworldly Smoke Several tune, I'd have to say in particular. There's like a decent kind of social hangout type song, but it's pretty offhanded. It's like a decent kind of social hangout type tune, I'd have to say in particular, but it's pretty offhanded, I just would have to say. So it's just kind of the concept, a little bit kind of janky of a song, a little bit jazzy and crotchety as far as that pitch can happen, but it is a decent one. Definitely one to be high out of your mind in a good pitch, just smoking with some buddies, some stuff like that. Just kind of in particular, I just kind of feel like this particular era for Young Dro was just so awkward and just kind of almost contrived in like a relative sense. It just felt like he maybe possibly felt like he wasn't quite in the mood or just prepared to kind of do some extra tracks around this particular time. It's kind of an awkward kind of era for Young Dro. I mean, he did kind of crest throughout 2006. He was also on the Grand Hustle album from December 2006. Forget what the album's called. It's like In the Streets Volume 4. He did have a couple songs on there in particular. He managed to crest throughout 2006 with Best Things. He managed to crest throughout late 2006 with Best Things, Smoking, and some remixes like the We Fly High remix and like the Top Back remix, some of those type tunes. But he just didn't really have a good palette of like stuff to really talk about on this particular mixtape. I think it kind of caught him off guard and just didn't really have like the preparations to really be able to have some of these hits. Just in particular, Fabo really had some good gems on here, I'd have to say. But it's just kind of the concept. There's really not too many good Young Dro songs. He does freestyle to like a UGK type songs and stuff like that. He freestyles to a Fabulous beat, some stuff like that on here, but most of these are just kind of flat type ones that just don't really have the appeal, and plus the quality of these songs is just not that super, I'd have to say. So it's just kind of the concept about it. But talk about some of the Fabo songs. Basically, Don't Blow My High is one of the best beats on this particular mixtape, I'd have to say. This is produced by Nitty, which is a pretty good concept just because he is a pretty popular Atlanta producer. Once again, he produced Young Jock's It's Going Down and some hits like that, I'd have to say. So it's a good concept. It's like a revved up kind of outing fun of a song, I'd have to say. It's like a great kind of leery Nitty beat, I'd have to say in particular, and this is just like a rugged kind of dance club hit, I'd have to say. So most of these songs, Fabo's pretty much like a champion and a king of snap rap and dance type music, I'd have to say in particular. He definitely has some of those Chris Brown type vibes and folks like that, just the dance rap type king and champion, just a dance rap type king in particular, I'd have to suppose. So Don't Blow My High is a little bit more rugged, a dance tune, but it really has one of the best beats on here, just a real excellent type one, very super duper, I'd have to say, just real excessively good type one. You So Thick's a pretty good one. This has Crime Mob on there, Diamond from Crime Mob, and like another Chica on here, I'd have to say. It's like a nice offhanded Crime Mob This song is like a nice offhanded Crime Mob collab, I'd have to say in particular. This is like a blend of snap rap and crunk music, I'd have to say in particular, and it's a pretty basic bop, I'd have to say. Pretty good concept for that. Just a real good simple dance tune to kind of get. Pretty good blend of snap rap and crunk type music. Crime Mob meets D Pharrell, some of that type ish just in particular. Crime Mob's always known for their party starters and just crunk type tunes to really get you hype, and then snap rap's pretty much good for just like the dance craze. So it's a good concept to kind of get a blend of that. Tatted Up's a pretty nice one. This is like a jazzy kind of revved up snap rap dance tune, I'd have to say in particular. It's like vintage Fabo, I would definitely feel like, and this is just a good bop to groove out to, I'd have to say in particular. There's definitely a lot of these just feel like what could have been meant for like a Fabo solo album as far as that pitch can happens. If you like D Pharrell and songs like Laffy Taffy, Bet You Can't Do It Like Me, some of those type ones, even like the Beam Me Up Scotty song, that's one of Fabo's biggest songs, some of those type pitches. This is just like album cuts and just spare type songs just within that relative pitch, but they're pretty quality, I'd have to say. It's just kind of the concept. Despite the fact that I say that these songs are basic and vanilla, it's just kind of the concept that they're basic and vanilla in like a snap rap sense, which there's not a ton of snap rap really out there. It only lasted between like 2005 to about 2008, but it's just kind of concept. These are just the nice ones, secret kind of Fabo songs to kind of get that just have a lot of dance appeal about them. So some good concepts. Another one that's just like tatted up is She Geeked Up. This is a real highlight type one. It's like a good basic snap rap hit, I'd have to say in particular. typical kind of dance evening, I have to say, pretty good concept for that. And this is just like a feeling tipsy and jivey type song. So it definitely has the energy on some of these type songs that are just good. They're just good turn up type songs and just overall outing type ones that just have a lot of appeal. Fable's just pretty good at this. Basically, all of his songs are just meant for the outing type fare, I'd have to say in particular. There are some Fabo songs that are kind of some remixes, some stuff like that. Fabo does have the Beam Me Up Scotty with Jeezy remix on there, but I would just recommend getting it on Jeezy's I Am the Street Dream. That's just the better. I would just recommend on getting it on Jeezy's I Am the Street Dream as far as that particular kind of goes. Just has better quality and just stuff like that as far as that kind of went with it. I would definitely have to say, but it's just kind of the concept. One of the few Fabo songs I don't recommend is just the Beam Me Up Scotty remix, but it is. I mean, you can find it on Jeezy's I Am the Street Dream, so that's just the better place to get it, I'd have to suppose. But there are most of these songs that feature Fabo are ones I recommend, so I just would have to say. But How You Do That's another highlighted type one. How You Do That's a pretty nice one. This is a song that has Fabo and Young Dro as far as that particular pitch kind of happens. There's only really two songs that have that particular vibe about it. The other one is one I don't recommend, which Blame It on Dro is the Young Dro song that features Fabo, and that one's not a really nice one. That one's just kind of a poor type one. Is the arrangements and overall production and quality type fare. That one's just pretty subpar, but How You Do That's a pretty nice one. This Fabo song is really excellent. Definitely like the Young Dro feature on this particular song. It's like a bright kind of glissy nightclub tune. It's like a bright kind of glissy nightclub tune, I'd have to say in particular. This is a pretty good offhanded collabo, I would definitely feel like in particular, and this is just a great one for feeling cranked and turned up, I'd have to say. Pretty nice one to get bent at a club and some stuff like that. Order some drinks, flirt with some bartenders, some stuff like that. Just in particular, just a pretty sparkly type song overall. Just a real nice one. This one's pretty album quality, I'd have to say. This is a pretty nice one to kind of get just within that aspect. It's a real vivid type one to kind of have with some good bright and glissy type appeal, I'd have to say in particular. So that's a nice one. And then Look at Her with Fabo and One Chance is another highlighted type one. That's just kind of the concept about this one. Would have to say it's like a pop rap kind of snap single. Pretty good concept for that. It's like a good commercial taste that this song particularly kind of has, and this is just a dance gem. It's definitely pretty vanilla coated, I'd have to say, and it's just a pretty dope song. So this is a nice one. Just by vanilla coated, I mean it's just a vanilla kind of snap rap tune, just in the sense of just having a snap rap single that just was meant for airwaves and something that was trying to aim for like the pop charts and stuff like that. Get to the appeal and a song just aiming to get to the appeal and heights of Laffy Taffy and some of those type songs, other popular songs from early 2007, some stuff like that, like My Love by Justin Timberlake, some of those type songs. Is what I'd say. Good concept, kind of get that one. Definitely pretty affable and melodic, and Fabo fits this song pretty well. His spastic kind of energy is just pretty soothing on the song, I'd have to say in particular. So that's a nice one. But yeah, I just look after just to talk about this particular album, talk about some of the songs I don't recommend on here. Basically, most of these Young Dro songs are just weaker type ones. They just are like remixes and stuff like that, or freestyles of songs that just don't add up to much, I'd have to say. Some of these are just poor productions. Just some of these type ones just don't add up to real much, like in terms of like the engagement factor. Like I do like the song Rocker Hits by Crime Mob as far as that pitch kind of happens, but the remix just was not. I think you just would be better off buying the remixes digitally, just because the concept of some of the quality of some of these type ones is just not quite as up to snuff, I'd have to say. There's just some ones on here, like I kind of feel like Breathe by Fabulous was not the best instrumental to really do a freestyle type mixtape type song to. Beam Me Up Scotty with Fabo and Jeezy just has a better version on the Jeezy mixtape. Some of these type ones. Smile with Fabo and Jibs is just better on the Jibs album. I just would go ahead and get the Jibs album. That's the better variation of that. Same thing with Party Like a Rockstar. Just the better variations on the actual album. There's some extra kind of folks on here like Eva Trill and Willie Joe that just don't add up to much. And there's some other folks on here like Smitty J and some of those type folks that just have some poor type songs that are just, they're basically just filler and stuff like that. So it's this kind of concept. I mean, this is not a horrible mixtape. It's just kind of bunk just because it doesn't add up to much in terms of like the actual quality, because it doesn't add up to much in terms of the standard quality of the banner artist advertised on this particular project. It's kind of like a pseudo compilation, like a sampler pack as far as that particular kind of goes, but there's just not enough quality Young Dro songs on here. He kind of fell short, and for some reason, just when he should have had like some extra energy just coming off of like the first 6 months of like his album Best Thing Smoking, I was really expecting him to have some other quality hits and like some leftover energy that could have instilled upon some extra songs to kind of have just within some bonus content. He kind of failed to deliver, and for the most part it was just kind of a poor rendition. Fabo came through, but then just the problem with him is just the fact that he never dropped an album in the first place. But there are at least some quality songs, some secret Fabo songs, is because he has a pretty spastic personality and he has an engaging character and stuff like that. So I would say me basically recommending 6.5 songs out of 21. I would go ahead and say I'm going to go ahead and give this mixtape like a 3.75 out of 10. That's about really all I can do with it. I would almost give it a 3.5 or lower than that, but just kind of the concept about it. I do really enjoy the Fabo type songs on here, especially the song with Fabo that had Young Dro on here. Some of those type pitches. A lot of these are some pretty stellar and super quality snap rap and dance rap type tunes. This in particular, this is a pretty good social album. Just to say, the social score is probably going to get like a 5.75 out of 10. I feel like it's just a little bit above average, almost in 6 out of 10 territory, just because of the concept, just because of Fabo's spastic kind of personality, engaging personality, just with some of these nightclub type songs and appeal, and just overall the appeal of snap rap, just especially in its prime in like 2007 as far as that pitch kind of went with it. Just some good stuff, some vivid kind of night appeal. You do also get the Beam Me Up Scotty remix with Jeezy, some of those type ones. The Fabo remixes are decent, but I just kind of feel like the quality is just not quite up to snuff. So if you do find a better quality version of this mixtape, maybe the quality would be better. But I would just go ahead and get the Jeezy mixtape and the Jibs album to get some of the other Fabo songs that he was on around that time. It's just kind of concept. But the secret Fabo songs are of course worth the bounty and stuff like that. It's definitely a pretty relatively social album. The song Fat Albert by Young Dro is a decent smoke song just for hangout sessions, just kind of in like a spacey kind of UFO type setting as far as that pitch kind of goes. Just some snackage PlayStation type music just within that appeal. But in terms of the future, that's kind of difficult just because Fabo has not put out a project in a while. He's kind of spastic just with whether or not he'll put out project. He's kind of hard to pin down as far as that kind of goes. And Young Dro has a ton of mixtapes, I just would have to say, within that appeal. So I'm definitely going to get to some more of his projects. I was really hoping that he dropped the project in like 2007 apart from this one, but I'm just not sure if he did. I know he dropped some projects in 2008, but we'll just have to see about some more of these. But that basically takes care of it in particular. Once again, this is not a horrible project. It's just kind of bunk and subpar just because it just doesn't have full-blown up-to-snuff type quality from like the full-blown artists that it needs to. I mean, Fabo comes through, Young Dro not as much. Just as I say, there's some good stuff on here just to be able to say in particular. There are some night outing gems and snap rap gems as far as that particular pitch kind of happens. It has the outing type flair about it, but it just is not a full-blown victory by much. It's just not a full-blown victory for the most part whatsoever, I'd have to say. But there are some gems on here.